Hey everybody, Roger here. Oh boy, this hopefully third time's a charm. I've made 2 videos of this already, and every single time I keep getting this error on my phone, and I'm getting a little pissed off about that. No hard drive issue, whatever, it's just whatever. So anyways, let's go ahead and just start this off pretty quick, then hopefully the video records. I'm going to be talking today about the recent CNN town hall. Basically had Representative Ted Deutch, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Douche. Senator Bill Nelson, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Marco Rubio, I always get those guys mixed up. Sheriff Scott, can't remember his last name, India or something like that. And then Dana Loesch from the NRA, representative of the NRA. So anyways, this whole thing was first off, before I even begin, heartfelt condolences to all the victims and the families. This is obviously a rough time, and to see people in the public spotlight like this who are friends and family of the murder victims, it kind of irks me. It's a little too soon. It's kind of sad to see it. But they did put themselves out there like this, so I mean, it was their choice. So with all of that said, I want to go ahead and start off by going over what ended up happening during this town hall. So we had, I'm gonna start. I guess it's gonna be kind of chronological, but not really. We'll start with Representative Mr. Douche, Ted Deutch. His opening speech basically saying, "It's not too late to talk about gun control. It's never too early to talk about gun control." It's like, kind of is in this point. You know, all you saw from the audience was a lot of emotion in regards to, oh, what are you gonna do? I mean, what can we do? We just want guns out of here. You know, it's basically their whole argument is they just want guns out of the way. That's. And I'll go down the list here as verbatim. That was said a couple of times. Get the guns off the streets and stuff. So, he started off with a horrible bang. That was his opening speech, I believe. And then around the 27... Okay, so I'm referencing, just FYI, I'm referencing the official CNN 1 hour 45, 1 hour 50 minute town hall official video on their YouTube page. So when you hear me saying times, that's what I'm referring to, is the position of the video and on theirs. So I'm not going to be posting content from it on here unless I really have to. But so go reference that yourself if you can. At the 27 minute and 30 second mark, Rubio ends up, he brings up basically there would still be thousands of guns still available that do the same exact thing. Douche ends up stating, well, let's sit down and figure out what they do. Or he said something weird, or how they're all related. I don't know what he said specifically. It was very muffled during that time. What he's basically saying is, let's put any and all on the table that are problematic. Further on down the line, as you go through this town hall, it's evident that they want to ban all semi-automatic weapons, and we'll get to that point here in a sec, or a couple minutes. Around the 1 hour 3 minute mark exactly, annoyingly with feelings in the air, Mr. Douche says, bump stocks that turn weapons into killing machines. We don't need to even think about that. We need to do it next week. No, you have to think about these things. You're basically, you're charging up the people from their emotions and the things that they just recently went through. Very disgusting what you're doing, in my opinion. I don't know how people can actually not see that. I think a lot of people do, but people who are going to have their hearts open and sympathizing with the victims. Yes, of course we sympathize, but there are those of us who, we do 2 things at once here. We sympathize, but we also think rational. Then we have Senator Bill Nelson. Oh, this guy was like fucking joy of the world. He kept saying the most annoying phrase ever.
Common sense solutions. Common sense solution. Get some common sense laws on the book. And get some common sense laws with regard to guns in America.
Common sense gun control, common sense gun control, common sense gun control. It was like the most annoying phrase over and over again. I had this other video that I'm going to be posting very soon. It's talking about annoying phrases and annoying words. This, I think, is going to have to definitely be part of the next video. Common sense gun control. Here's the issue, Mr. Nelson. You know, you kept saying that phrase over and over and over again, and all it did was just get people riled up to, they don't even know what they're cheering for. So, now with this overall, he also says we need to be getting the assault rifles off the streets. Well, yeah, from illegal criminals, from criminals obtaining them illegally. Not from law-abiding citizens, bud. Boy, the last video I did on this was probably going to be a lot better than this one. I apologize. Then he brings up criminal background checks on every gun application. Well, yes, of course. That apparently wasn't done here with this kid. None of the 39 calls to his house from social services or the police force, none of that ever warranted reporting anything on a national registry. Why? Guess who could have prevented this? And then we hear that there's another assistant deputy or deputy director. I don't know who this guy is. Just watched the video on Anthony Brian Logan just now. This guy got there to the school and I'm not sure if it's wimped out or just didn't go in so they could meet quota or something. I have no fucking clue. I'm a little messed up in the head because of that video, but you got to watch it. It's crazy stuff. This guy just sat down. He didn't. The sheriff ended up suspending him, but he eventually decided to quit. So it was suspending without pay, whatever. And then he decided to quit. So whatever you want to make of that.
What I saw was a deputy arrive at the west side of Building 12, take up a position, and he never went in.
The men and women I've worked with for almost 40 years, we know how to keep America safe. We know how to keep America safe. We know how to keep America safe.
So, everyone in the audience, the thing that bothered me the most here, and it was around this time, around the Bill Nelson speaking around the 20-minute mark, when everybody in the audience was applauding government involvement and intervention of these issues versus individual freedom. They basically wanted, overall the theme was, we want the government to take care of us. That's basically how I read it. And it was not the right answer, people. I mean, take a look at, past civilizations who've allowed their weapons to be given up so freely. What happened to them? It can happen here. Just because it's America. Look at what's happening in America right now. We already have division that could end up probably escalating into a civil war with, on any crazy ass subject. We are so fortunate that it hasn't happened yet. About exactly the 23-minute mark, Mr. Nelson stated, this is the crazy one. I'll post this video. The gun is what is going to do the killing.
When you get right down to it, the gun is what is going to do the killing.
And he was very adamant about saying it in that way. The audience started, I guess, clapping and cheering, and no, people, the individual with the mental problems, the individual who was bullied, the individual who the officers kept getting calls from over and over and over again, who students kept reporting, who teachers kept reporting. It's those people. It's those people that are responsible. Those inactions, those scenarios where something could have been done, but wasn't. Those are all responsible. He built up, and he was able to go out and buy firearms because nothing was ever registered. None of his actions, multiple actions, online threats, death threats, those were never reported. So he was never on a registry. So that's one of the biggest issues that I have here. Is everybody's looking at, oh, we just got to take guns out of the picture. No, you got to put responsibility of these positions that people are taking so lightly back into the limelight. You got to hold them responsible. Oh my gosh. So 29 minutes 30 seconds. Mr. Nelson also brings up that there's a couple manufacturers in Florida making guns. Well, fuck yeah, it's legal, dude. God, what? I don't know. That was like such a straw man, such a non-argument, actually, that it made no sense why he brought it up except just to rile people up. So anyways, I went into detail about this on my other video. God, I wish I would have saved it. I'm not going to go there. So then around exactly the 30-minute mark, he brings up Omar Mateen. being on the FBI watch list, but still being able to purchase a firearm. How fucking misleading. Omar Mateen was on the watch list for a moment. They questioned him in 2012, 2013, 2014. Omar Mateen, the Florida killer who killed 50 individuals. Wow, they both happened in Florida. I just realized this. So he was taken off the FBI watch list because they couldn't prove anything. And then after that, he was able to purchase firearms, made a little stint in Hollywood or something, I guess. I can't remember. But he totally misled the people there. Nelson wasn't on the FBI watch list. They took him off. And the rest is history. The gun isn't the issue, people. The mishandling of information is. Now we're going to get to... Okay, and again, that guy was fucking annoying, Mr. Nelson. Oh, and then he also said, when I was young, we had firearms and we went hunting. The Second Amendment, buddy, is not just about hunting. It's about arming ourselves against the government that could betray us at any point in time. It seems like that's the direction these people want to be taking us. So, no, you totally misconstrue the definition of it. I am not going to be sacrificing or forfeiting my right to bear arms because you think it's about hunting. Boy. Okay, so Senator Marco Rubio. We can make sure that one of these events, I'm sorry, I don't have a timeline for this one, but it was early on. He says, we want to make sure that none of these events ever happen again. That's the problem with absolutes and politicians. There's no such thing. You can't promise the world 100% of anything. I don't give a shit how bad it is. You can't ever say that there's not going to be a war. You can't say that there's not ever going to be killings. You can't say there's ever going to not be domestic abuse. You can't ever say that because you're going to change the laws with driving that there's never going to be another car accident. There are a lot of things outside of your control. In this case, mental issues, prescription drugs, over-prescription of medication, being able to get away with so many calls to the police and with the police to his house, being able to get away with... he was bullied, too. So, I mean, this kid was a victim as well as being the one murderer. So, the community, in a way, as one person from the Red Elephants video and interview, Vince interviewed this guy who just got out of a funeral. He felt, he hated the kid, but he said we let him down as a community to not know that this was happening, so there's a lot of blame to go around. There's a lot of very delicate circumstances, probably more circumstances than anybody can count that led to this scenario. Just like the millions of people in the United States that lead to billions of scenarios that could happen, that cause any sort of reason, any sort of issue to happen, whether it's battery, assault, car accidents, murder sprees like this. You can't, Marco Rubio, you were very wrong in even saying something like that. Marco Rubio used two words very badly in this video, in this segment. He basically said, the first one he kept using wrong was semi-automatic weapon. Now, the problem with this is you have to know your audience. This audience is sensitive. They've just experienced a lot of traumatic things with a lot of people in their lives being murdered. And they themselves were almost probably murdered, the majority of them, in this town hall. And the families, everybody's, their emotions are heightened. When you use the word semi-automatic weapon, those people don't know what it means. They think of it as, all they picture in their head is an AR-15, which again, AR does not stand for assault rifle. It's the name of the brand. They're not picturing, if you would have said something specific, that would have been a lot better. But for you to say semi-automatic weapon, that's pretty much virtually every arm that we have. So that's what people hear. It's just really crazy that your wording was very off on a lot of the stuff here. The other one that you mentioned was agenda. You said, "Oh, but that's my agenda." When the kid questioned you about, would you stop taking money from the NRA? And he's like, "No, people support my agenda." Agenda in a scenario like this, Mr. Rubio, is very... people think of it as a negative connotation, because agenda means that you have something You have an underlying plan, and there's an underlying reason. Well, again, in a negative way, not a positive way, and that's how they're seeing it. So again, you got to figure your audience when you're talking. You just made it a little bit worse. Awesome that you went out there and took all the blows in the world, but you definitely left losing. That's my opinion. Jake Tapper brought up a good point. He ended up saying that for the couple of years that the Democrats controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House, gun control was never a priority. This wasn't applauded or anything at all in the audience. Everybody just like, oh, whatever. So it tells me that they're not using rational thinking. I mean, that right there should tell them, well, you know what? They were in power. We voted them in, and they didn't do shit about it. It is something to take into consideration. But no, there was no reaction. Again, everybody's emotions are heightened in this town hall. It makes absolutely no sense except for CNN's dwindling ratings and dwindling reputation. Not that it is pretty bad already. And they're trying to cash out on a lot of things. I think this goes along with the fact that they're laying off a lot of people at CNN. So again, they're desperate. Desperate times call for desperate measures. That's how I look at it. There we go. Okay, I'm looking at my notes here. Sheriff Scott Israel. I knew it was like a country. I said India. Sorry, guys. So Sheriff Scott Israel. This is not an argument or anything, but he had mentioned clouding. I have 39 years in law enforcement, almost 40. Well, go figure, because that's the same amount of times the Cruz residents had visitations. 39 times visited by police or social services, to be exact, and nothing happened. So, and also just like nothing happened with the deputy that you sent out there to go take care of business.
What I saw was a deputy arrive at the west side of Building 12, take up a position, and he never went in.
We know how to keep America safe.
What the fuck? And I'm glad now that I had to redo this video, because I'm going to be bringing up another point and tying it in with that deputy. Now we move on to Dana Loesch. Oh boy, this girl is amazing. She made the night, even though people were booing her on facts, booing her on very simple things that anybody in the world, if you're 8 years old, you can understand what she's trying to make a point on. At the 1 hour, 9 minute, 10 second mark, Emma Gonzalez says, "I want you to know that we will support your children in the way that you will not." Now, good for Dana for not responding to that and just kind of being like, all right, whatever, she's young, she's a little girl, and maybe CNN wrote this, as you will find out a little bit later in this video, something like that happens, or allegedly happens. Now, just imagine though, if those words came from Dana, if Dana had said to Emma, I want you to know that we will support your children in the way that you will not. How would a crowd have reacted? It would have gone batshit crazy. How would the media have reacted? Batshit crazy. A lot of people here kept their composure from, all the people that were up there representing. She kept her composure the most, and I thought that was very awesome. She was very excellent representative for the NRA. At the 1 hour, 12 minute, 6 second mark, Dana asked if they wanted to stop mentally unstable individuals from obtaining firearms.
Do you guys want to stop mentally insane individuals from getting firearms? You better not get one now. Yes?
The audience just mopes unsatisfactorily. The question is a valid question, and she's asking them if they want to stop it. They don't. Again, they're not thinking in rational terms. This, again, is still a whole charade of nothingness. Nothing is getting done here. This is just, again, a rating shill and a venting town hall. So, she mentioned this in addition to that. She said, if the state does not report the unfitness of the person's unfitness to actually own a firearm, the crimes, if they're not reporting the crimes, if they're not reporting any sort of mental issues to the National Crime Information Center, the background check will be shown as passed. When you obtain a firearm. That's her whole point in all this. And since the records will not reflect any of this information that's not, reported, then that person's not going to have a criminal history. The law is the procedure is being done correctly, but there's certain people in the way not doing it right. The initial people, the ones that should, the ones that are to blame. My opinion. I think a lot of people will agree with me on that. Probably not people dealing with emotions at this point, but again, I'm going to get to that later because I have a very good example at the very end here that will let you know that I am very much, I've been in a similar situation to this. And so my testimony here is cloud enough, I think. At 1 hour, 13 minutes, 20 seconds, Sheriff Israel interferes and he states, this is funny, I am going to put this in the video.
You're not standing up for them until you say, I want less weapons.
I'm just like, what? Like, wow, really? No, you're standing up for people when you say, you are standing up for people when you say that you want to find the root cause of this. You're not. You can comfort them by saying, "I wish your families, your friends weren't killed, whether it was by a gun, somebody smashing a, that kid could have probably done it as easily, taken a vehicle and run over a lot of people. He could have made bombs. I think he had like flash bombs or flash grenades or something. I can't remember. And they don't even know how he got whatever else it was. I think it was flash grenades. And then there's also other people who, the bombs, guns, knives, and then it's just ridiculous that they think it's only just about the guns. It's about the individual and their mental state. That's where we have to start here. We're an over-medicated society. Look at all the loons that have been put behind bars. And this kid, he obviously had a lot of trauma happen to him very recently. His mom died. His dad had died earlier, I guess. He was bullied in school. He was a troublemaker in school. He, I guess would blow up lizards. He would threaten people online, says he wants to be the next school shooter. And Sheriff Israel didn't want to do anything about this. He kept giving excuse after excuse after excuse.
We know how to keep America safe.
But anyways, going on. At the 1 hour, 13 minute, 55 second mark, he claims this, and this is where I'm tying in my video I just saw with Anthony Brian Logan saying that assistant direct deputy was out and didn't do shit when he was called to the scene. But Sheriff Israel states in this video at the 1 hour, 13 minute, 55 second mark, we know how to keep America safe. Two things. Why did this happen then? Why did you have 39 calls where the family felt threatened enough to call you, Cruz's mom, and why did your deputy stand down? Why if you know how to keep America safe, why did that happen? I'm going to kind of side with Anthony ABL here and say that there's, trying to reach a maximum quota, you have a certain amount that you reach before your figures start looking bad to special interest groups or whatever. Again, that's assumption on my part. I'm just now getting into that, but wow, go figure, man. This guy was just shoving shit out of his mouth like it was fucking, like he was throwing up fucking his crap. All right, near about that time, he says, we have to take the guns out of hands of people who suffer from mental illness. Again, we've mentioned this already, and he didn't do anything to try to get these out of the hands of, get any weapons out of the hands of Cruz with the 39 calls to their residents. Okay, so Israel also is not a member of the NRA, and he made that known pretty bluntly when he was asked. At the 1 hour, 19 minute, 10 second mark, Israel keeps blaming Cruz instead of police inaction on multiple occasions of making death threats, calls to their home residents, etc. He kept delivering generic talking points again and again and again, and all those generic talking points ended up having a standing ovation from the crowd. I really, if people really wanted information, I think people more or less just wanted to feel comforted. I don't think they wanted information. Nobody likes the hard truth. They just like to be comforted. At the 1 hour, 21 minute, 20 second mark, the audience boos when Dana Loesch ends up bringing up a past CNN interview with a person named Kim Corbin, a female who was brutally raped wishing she had a gun or a rifle to defend herself. Everybody booed.
You've had a previous town hall where you spoke with a young woman named Kim Corbin, who was a college student who was brutally raped in her dorm, and she was under the age of 21. And one of the things that she speaks out about loudly now is how she wished she would have had the ability to be able to have a shotgun, whatever it was, to be able to defend herself. I was 20 years old when I lived on my own. I didn't live with my parents when I was 20.
Why would you boo a rape victim? Again, it just goes to show that your emotions, you're not thinking rationally. Your emotions are going ahead of you in these scenarios, and you're not thinking rationally. At the 1 hour, 28 minute, 40 second mark, this is where Dana just this is where she begins to just bash Israel and begins to win the argument for the rest of the debate. She brought up, kind of nonchalantly said, he carried bullets all the time. He brought knives to school. There was multiple assaults in school. The teachers and the students would complain about him. There were, his family were getting calls from the police. There were all the signs that were everywhere. So that's the beginning of her bringing it up.
We have to develop better protocol to follow up on red flags. This monster carrying bullets to school, carrying knives to school, assaulting students, assaulting his parents, 39 visits in the past year, that should never have been allowed to get that far.
That was an excellent question, and I want you guys to definitely look. I'll probably post a video here, but I definitely want you guys to look at Jim Gard. Jim Gard asked a question at the 1 hour, 29 minute, 55 second. It was an excellent question, but Jake Tapper said that the question was for the FBI regarding the tips of the threats. That why didn't anybody take action on them? And again, the eloquent question, probably the best question of the night.
The FBI certainly had enough cause to investigate the case prior to the 17 murders. It's fair to say that people are disgusted with the inaction of this organization. Why were these tips considered unimportant enough to not have further action? Who would make this decision? As the FBI apologized for their failure to act upon these tips, who ultimately would be the person who decided that this now very relevant case was irrelevant?
The only problem is it wasn't addressed. Jake Tapper said, FBI was invited, but they decided not to show up. They declined.
So, Sheriff, obviously this is a question for the FBI. I want to point out that we did invite the FBI director and somebody from the field office in Miami to come here tonight to answer your questions. They declined, but their excuse is that this is part of an ongoing investigation.
At the 1 hour, 33 minute mark exactly, this is where Dana shines. Dana shines here because she brings up, the standards. Everybody's talking about standards. She said, well, what standards qualified for their department to take action? There were 39 times that the department was called to his house, to their residence. There were multiple death threats. Online, reported, a YouTube video had reported it. It got visited by the FBI. The FBI said, do you know the person personally? The YouTuber said no. They left. They didn't do anything else with it. Just filed it away. He took weapons to school, bullets, knives, etc. Sheriff Israel then calls out, he says, oh, well, you seem to know everything, the arbiter of truth here. You seem to know a lot about this stuff. Where are you going with all this? She's like, well, I heard it all from the media. And he's like, well, the media, you're getting your information wrong or something to that extent. And she's like, okay, so you're saying none of this is true? And then she kind of put her hand towards Jake Tapper, nonchalantly basically implying fake news. It was kind of awesome. I kind of caught that. It was pretty cool.
If he's sending messages threatening to kill people, that right there, under Florida state law.
Who did he send the message to kill people to?
BuzzFeed, AP, Reuters, Yahoo News, all reported that was to other students.
Who was the victim?
It was sent to other students.
Dana, Reuters can't be a victim. The only person who could be a victim is an individual.
This, Sheriff, is what I'm saying.
So if an individual was threatened and it was real, that's a crime. But if he's posting things...
They were threatened with death. They were threatened that they were going to bleed. They were threatened that they were going to be killed.
Well, you're wrong. There weren't 39 visits. Some of them, they were GOA. Some of them called from other states. To say there were 39 visits, I don't know where you got those facts, but you're completely wrong.
Did they report it inaccurately?
They reported it inaccurately, but if you're going to...
But anyways, after all that had happened, immediately Israel jumped to the defense. He starts saying things again that the crowd wants to hear. And he took a sideways approach for an excuse. and again delivered an ending line that caused everybody to cheer. It's fucking ridiculous. Again, it's just people just want to be comforted right now. This isn't a great time to do a town hall when emotions are so high. Students had some questions. There was a couple of students that had mentioned, I think twice in the video, my friends and I are afraid to go to school. One of them said that she will not return to school until it is considered safe. Well, I don't know what to say about that, but I thought it was very weird that she brought that up. Fred Guttenberg, this was earlier. It was actually the very first individual who stood up and talked, first or second. His daughter was murdered. Again, condolences. He basically wanted Marco Rubio to repeat this line. He says, "Guns, I want you to say, Rubio, guns were the factor in the hunting of our kids in the school this week." No. Rubio didn't cave in. He gave the reason why he wasn't going to cave in on that, and proceeded to talk about other things, what they were planning on doing and what he thinks will help in the future. But he kept insisting on having an answer. And no, guns aren't the reason. Guns don't kill people. There's mental instability. An individual has to take control of something for it to operate. And then you go from there. It's the person, people. It's the person. Ashley Kurth. Ashley Kurth. She is a teacher who shielded 65 students into a room. She saved 65 lives, so she's a hero. But she did add this. She says, "Am I supposed to get extra training to protect these children on top of educate the children?" Okay. In the real world, yes. You have experiences and you learn from them. You don't have experiences and expect other people to save you all the time. I learned from my experiences. I have a lot of duties at work that if I don't take action, I will pay a consequence, and so therefore I mold myself and I keep building myself up until I'm strong enough to handle certain scenarios, expected and unexpected, no matter how dire or extreme. And so I think it's a missed opportunity if you're not going to be, if you look at it as an inconvenience and not as an opportunity to take a stand and get yourself prepared in case this ever happens again. This should also be a landmark scenario for a lot of teachers around the United States to see what's going on here as well. At the 45-minute, 40-second mark, Cameron Casey unwittingly asked Rubio to not accept donations from the NRA. Rubio used the word agenda here, the word, again, he shouldn't have, but he doesn't receive a lot. I think out of the last election, the contributions he got was like $20,000 or $10,000. Nothing crazy. So it makes no sense why this was even brought up, but they're trying to make a connection that it's NRA is evil, whatever, and it causes issues. At the 1 hour, 3-minute, 45-second mark, again, this is another student claiming that she's not going to return to school until it's considered safe. So just reading off my notes here. Here's the fun part. Colton Hobb. There's possible CNN interference, fake news again here, where Colton Hobb, he's a junior ROTC student there, and his actions, the things that he's learned, the skills that he's learned. Again, the teacher, what is her name? Ashley Kurth. You could learn a thing or two on this with this person here. His actions help save lives and save potential victims. Two things here. His scenario, what he did, his actions ended up proving that he was able to prove that any defensive or offensive tactic, physical, armed, or being very tactical, can help in any situation, in any crazy situation like this, and de-escalate a scenario. I'm pretty sure he saved lives. He reduced numbers here. And if every other person takes this and understands that, everybody that was involved today, you can lessen the amount of lives if it ever happens again. Colton Hobb also did call out CNN, saying that there was an executive who asked him to write some stuff, an essay to speak on the town hall, and then at the end of the day, the whole question was reversed, and it wasn't even a question he wanted to ask. It was a pointed question, and so he decided not to attend, and he called CNN out on their shit. So again, now they have this fake news thing looming on them at this point. I'm going to believe the kid at this point, and again, it's alleged, so I'm not really taking it for a full grain of salt here. I am siding towards believing the kid at this point, with the weight of how much disingenuous news CNN actually produces. So yeah, there's going to be something else I want to just make known. I do not agree. Maybe a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but I don't think that we should be taking away or making any sort of laws that take away the right to bear arms, the right to purchase firearms from 18 to 21-year-olds. They're able to go out, get credit cards, buy a house, make a family, get married, serve in the military. And again, I know there will be exceptions for the military, but they're doing all these things that adults do, and you're telling them for 3 years as you are an adult entering the real world, you can't defend yourself. How fucking stupid is that, people? Anyways, there's also another issue. You know, we have all these town halls, or we're going to have town halls going forward for all these things. I'm pretty sure of it, or something similar. And nobody has town halls for the murder victims in Chicago, the record-breaking murder victims, the Memorial Day weekends in Chicago, where innocent little girls are shot in the head because of gang drive-bys by illegally obtained firearms. Not legally, illegally obtained firearms. Then you have Baltimore, then you have DC, then you have LA. Where's all the outrage in all these places, people? So now you want to put the blame on law-abiding citizens. You want to take our rights away instead of actually trying to do something about the illegal immigration issue. I'm sorry, the illegal firearm, obtaining illegal firearms. You're not thinking rationally again. You're not. Huge note here. Mr. Nelson says, "Oh, my family, when I was younger, I used to love hunting. I hunted all the time, and we didn't have rifles like this. Ha, ha, ha." Sir, great. That's good for you. But the Second Amendment isn't about hunting. The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. It relates to our freedoms and our right to defend ourselves against any offense, including and up to a governing body that is willing to turn against us at any time. And it looks as though we're going to need these now more than ever. The call to disarm is very hard right now, and it's really apparent. You know, it makes no sense. So don't ever say it's about hunting. I fucking hate that argument. So at the end of the day, there's always going to be issues like this. We're never going to ever be able to solve all of these problems. We're always going to have rapes. We're always going to have murders. We're always going to have knife attacks, gun attacks, bomb attacks. We're always going to have assaults. We're always going to have people being tied up in basements against their will. Whatever. We're going to have a lot of these cases, people ramming people with cars or motorcycles or whatever. You're never going to be able to get rid of them. They're always going to be there. All we can do is learn from the issues, move forward, try to bend laws or pass legislation, make new laws, make new rules, whether federal or state, or combination of whatever, and make sure that we learn from our lessons. Not just pull at the heartstrings and say, no, all of this or nothing. Look at Australia. Australia has supposedly banned guns and had a gun callback in the late 90s or early 2000s, I can't remember, or 80s, I can't remember. Late 80s if it was. I know that's probably the earliest. It's still estimated that the majority of them actually still have their firearms. Yet, murders nothing's happened with them because people have found clever ways to still do what they want to without guns. With and without guns. I think the murders that happen there are majority, well, everybody, they can't even legally own them. It's against the law there. But if there's murders there, it's mostly due with an illegal gun, a gun that was illegally obtained. Firearm. So anyways, yeah, at the end of the day, you guys are focusing on the wrong argument there. Okay, one last thing here. Two or three things, actually. There's something else that kills more. A lot of other things that kill more than firearms. Our foods, our medications, our drugs, our addictions, our smoking, our lifestyles, our diseases, our freedom to do as we choose. We live in a world where we go out, we go in, and we have to be on the defensive and offensive. It's a personal choice, and you can choose how to protect yourself or not protect yourself, and go with that. It's survival of the fittest, to be honest. But that's what you get in a free society. You know, I would rather live in a dangerous society with my freedoms than controlled, being controlled, and eventually know that my hands are in another governing body's will. You know, and to an extent we are, obviously, because we're all United States citizens having to follow laws. But you know, think about that for a minute. You know, nobody's making town halls because we have food lobbyists. You know, like McDonald's, where you can buy 9 Big Macs in one sitting, but you can't go to the farmers. You know, you have farmers that can't grow real crop, but you can buy 9 Big Macs and 3 Diet Cokes, multiple French fries, and have heart attacks. And heart disease, I think, is the major killer in America, and nobody gives a shit about that. Yeah, I don't see you guys making a town hall about Coca-Cola, Pepsi, McDonald's, all of these big names. The drugs, pharmaceuticals. Nobody's making a stink about that either. Everybody loves their drugs, but nobody likes it when somebody kills, and they'll hide the fact that there's people using drugs that are part of these murders as well. I mean, look at, and then you're blaming, okay, going back a little bit to the 18 to 21-year-olds. You guys are trying to ban them from obtaining weapons, but let's look at the last couple of people who have actually committed some major crimes here. In Oregon, there was a man who shot at a couple politicians, or people on a bus, I'm sorry, I can't remember which. But he was an older man. He wasn't 18 to 21. Then you have the Las Vegas shooter, massacre. He was an older man, 60, 65 years old. He wasn't 18 to 21. Don't pin this on the youth. You're going to only make them more vulnerable when they go out into the real world. It makes absolutely no sense. They will be a target. Okay. This is the last thing. At the end of the day, using people that are devastated to be used in this manner is detestable. CNN, I don't know how you convinced a lot of these people that this was a good idea. It was very sad watching, for the most part, the emotions of the people here. I really don't get it. I have a very similar experience in my life. I'm going to share it now. My best friend was murdered, shot in the back of the head in cold blood as he was working, as he was doing his job. And I had to identify him, and that was very hard. And so I know firsthand what it's like. It wasn't a school shooting, but again, or people who like to say, "Oh no," like I don't know if you've seen that debate between Vince from the Red Elephants and Destiny from like a couple days ago. So go look for it. Maybe I'll put the link down below. But Destiny kept switching the subject when he was bringing up overall murders never went down even after gun bans in Australia. And Destiny's like, but no, you're focusing on all the other murders. You should just be focusing on the guns. No. The fact of the matter is murders are still there. Murders are still happening. You're still going to have people finding ways to do things. Get that through your heads, people. That's just fact. So anyways, my friend was callously murdered. And so was another person during that day as well. Someone else there. I never thought the gun was the issue. It's the individual. I blame the individuals. There was 2 individuals involved here. And I blame them. Never once did I blame an inanimate object. There's the will of the person willing to do what it takes and what they want, making a decision based off of experience to pull the trigger. You guys need to think about that for a little while. I hope this video has helped. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully this one records. I hope you guys have a great day. And again, condolences to all involved. You know, we're in a very traumatic time right now with grieving. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Have a great day. Bye.
We know how to keep America safe. We know how to keep America safe. We know how to keep America safe.